Hi, welcome to Photoshop Lightroom TV. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from SiteTrain.co.uk and this is episode 36. Welcome to another episode. Fantastic new week, new tips, tricks, tutorials in Photoshop Lightroom TV. Photoshop Lightroom TV is a weekly video podcast about anything Photoshop, Lightroom and Adobe Bridge. Nice, I'm really excited about this new week, new episode. I've got some exciting tutorials for you. We'll have one in Lightroom and one in Photoshop. Okay, now as you probably know already, there's a new update to Lightroom 3, Lightroom 3.4 and a Camera Raw 6.4 update. These are release candidates, so they're not released yet. You can download it from Adobe Labs. Because the release candidate it's available on Adobe Labs, you won't find it as an update to your Lightroom. So if you're in Lightroom, if you go to check for updates, you won't see this update. This release candidate, so you need to go to Adobe Labs to download it. Okay, but you can check it out. It's a workable version. It works fine. What release candidate means is that now it's time for some feedback from the community. So we can use it, set feedback for Adobe, and they're going to release 3.4 quite soon. Okay. For all the details, go to PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. On my blog, you'll find all the information about the Lightroom 3.4 and Camera Raw 6.4. What it does, what updates it brings, and what bugs are fixed. Okay, now let's jump into Lightroom, and I want to show you how you can delete the images from within Lightroom. A few different techniques of deleting images, removing them from catalog or from the hard drive as a part of your Lightroom workflow. So let's jump into Lightroom and let's see how we can do that. Okay, here I am inside of Lightroom, and now I'm going to show you how one interesting technique about removing the images from Lightroom. Okay. Now what you could do is you could start deleting them. So if I open one of the folders in here, say Peak District, and if I want to remove some of the images, I could just select them on one-by-one basis, say maybe this image here, and just press delete key. When you press delete key on the keyboard, you prompt it with this dialog box. Do you want to remove the image from Lightroom, or do you want to delete it from the hard drive, from the disk? Okay. Let's say I want to remove it from Lightroom only and keep it on a hard drive. Okay. But what if you want to remove loads of images at the same time? Okay. This is a 2 or 3 step process. So what I would do, this is a tip I learned from Matt Kloskowski, is I would reject the images first. That's what I also do. When I import the images, the first thing I do is I go through the images and I reject the images I don't need anymore. And in just a moment I'm going to show you a technique I learned from Matt. Okay, so I would just go to the loop view to see the images bigger. Okay. Remember, there's a keyboard shortcut you can assign to the images. So if you go under Photo and then set Flag, you can reject the images by pressing X on the keyboard. So I'll start cycling between images using the arrow keys on my keyboard. Okay. So I'll just press X for this image here. Maybe it is. I'm going to remove all these images here. Okay. Maybe a few more. This one is really dark. And these two as well. Okay, and I've got a number of images that I've already set as rejected. I'll go back to the grid view by either using this icon here, or I can also press G on the keyboard. Okay. Now in the past what I would do is select all the rejected images and then delete them. But now what I can do is I can go to the photo menu and scroll down to delete rejected photos, or use the keyboard shortcut Control Backspace. Okay, this will remove all the rejected photos. Now I'm still prompted to decide whether I want to remove them from Lightroom or delete them from the hard drive, which is good because I may not want to remove them from the hard drive. Okay. Usually I would just remove the images from Lightroom. What Matt is suggesting here, he removes the images from the hard drive. Depends how you work, depends whether you want to keep the images on a hard drive just in case or not. So in this case I would remove them from Lightroom and keep them on a hard drive. Okay, so that's a tip in Lightroom. That's how you can manage the images and remove them from Lightroom using the rejected feature. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Lightroom. Now I've got one more for you in Photoshop, but before we move on to our tutorial in Photoshop, just a few sources for you. Make sure you check my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. You can see the address somewhere here. For all the latest tips and tricks, information from Adobe, about Adobe products. I'm also gathering all the information, all the best tutorials and articles about anything Photoshop, Lightroom and Bridge. As an example, if you look on my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, you'll find an article about a video tutorial from Corey Barker about 3D DNA. Okay, and a link so you can watch it. It's a video tutorial from Corey Barker. Alright, let's jump into Photoshop and let's see some interesting tips and tutorials in using the text tool. Some tips I use on a regular basis when using the text tool in Photoshop. So let's jump into Photoshop. Okay, here I am inside Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CS5 and I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks using the text tool. I've got this text layer here. Okay, this text layer here. I'm going to show you a few features of the text. Okay, now first of all, I'm going to select my text tool, and you can see the font now used here. It's called 28 Days Later. Now the first trick is that you've got a preview of all the text fonts in here. Now if you want to make them bigger, just go into your preferences, edit preferences, or on Mac Photoshop preferences, and type, and in here you can change the font preview size. Okay, now the size you set up in here will depend on how big your screen is, but also on how many fonts you have. You may want to go to extra large and the fonts will be bigger, but if you have loads of fonts on your system, it will take you ages to scroll down through the list. I usually change it to large, the default is medium. Okay, just press OK. So this is the preview. This is tip number one. Tip number two, if you add some text and you're not sure which font you want to use, here's what I usually do. I select one of the fonts, any, say Aparita for example, and then you put a cursor inside here so the font gets highlighted, and now you start using the arrow keys on your keyboard. I'm using down arrow key to move between different fonts, and this will automatically update on the page. So you can go through the list, see which fonts are available, and check which one you like most. Okay. Really nice feature. I'm just going to change it back to this font here. Now, tip number three. You've got a font, and this font only comes in one size, regular, let's say. Okay. And you wanted to make it bold, as an example. Now here's the trick you can use. You can use the character panel. You can access it here in the options bar with your text tool selected, and in character panel you can make the font bold. Okay, it works with every font. Excuse me. Very nice trick here inside Photoshop. You just click on this. You can do the same with the italics. You can make any font italics. Okay, this is trick number three. Okay, and trick number four, if you want to change the language that searches your document, you can do it in here. You can use loads of languages, especially in Photoshop CS5. Okay, there's a whole list of languages here. Okay, I'm using English UK. Okay, these are tips and tricks and tutorial here with the text tool in Adobe Photoshop. Thank you for watching it. Okay, thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training, and this was Photoshop Lightroom TV episode 36. There's just one more thing left, the tip of the week. Okay, this tip of the week is in Photoshop. Refine Edge in Photoshop CS5 has some amazing new features. If you look in Refine Edge in Photoshop CS5, now in Photoshop CS5 you can export your selection to a new layer with layer mask, but also a new document. Fantastic new feature in Photoshop CS5. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tip of the week. Thank you for watching. This was Photoshop Lightroom TV, your weekly resource for anything Photoshop, Lightroom and Bridge and photography, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.